And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty. And together, we review what's in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that a lefty and a righty is not only able to get along, but they can also have a discussion where we disagree. Because remember, common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, bro?
Not too much, man. I'm doing good. How you doing today?
Tired, man. Tired.
Yeah,
So I was telling you before the show.
You were saying before the show, you got a baby kicking you in the middle of the night?
Yeah, well, the baby's keeping my wife awake, so I'm awake. But from what I've been told, I can kiss my sleep goodbye for a very long time. So.
Oh yeah, you're fucked. You're fucked, no doubt.
I'll just spend a lot of time outside so that my tan stays and I don't look as tired. Because I think because I'm darker, it doesn't show as much. So
yeah, no, I mean, look the same. But yeah, it's I mean, what is she 7 months now?
No, 6. Not even 6, man. 5.5. The baby's just active as shit, man.
Wow.
Little guy has, well, if he's anything like me, he's never gonna stand still. So it's part of the game, eh?
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, I mean, it's the miracle of life, as they say, and it is what it is. I think it's all worth it in the end. I think you'll find that. But yeah, there won't be a lot of sleep for the next couple of years at least. So may as well get used to that.
It's all good, man. I don't sleep that much either way. So
yeah, are you not a big sleeper?
No, I have not been able to have a good night's sleep in probably 10 years.
Oh shit!
I'm such a light sleeper that everything wakes me up, and like I lived in the woods for years, that I could sleep well. But seriously, man, since we left that house, which is probably 3.5 years ago, I think the least I will wake up in a night is like 2 or 3 times. I don't remember last time I had a solid, like, set, even a 6 hours straight. I don't remember last time that happened.
Really? I'm honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've never been a big sleeper. I don't usually get to bed till pretty late. I don't know why. I just and every morning I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I gotta get to bed earlier, and I never do.
See, that's not my problem. I go to bed early enough. You
just can't sleep through the night.
I just don't sleep through the night. Yep, exactly. Let me see something here. I just want to make sure if the feed has been shared properly. Seems like there's always at least one of the profiles.
What
I'm trying to see right now. Yeah, okay, it's popping on mine.
How's it on the Political Orphans?
No, it seems like it's working there too. So, wow, we might be lucky. We might be blessed this morning that it's actually working. Wow. Good for us.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Good for us. Look at that. So
52 shows in, and we're starting to get it dialed in.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing much we can do about that if X fucks us.
Yeah,
if it doesn't display properly, nothing much we can do about that.
That's right.
So
what do
there's
we got?
a few things.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the show today, folks.
It's not the busiest of days. It's I find it always interesting, especially considering that yesterday was supposed to almost be the apocalypse, the end of the world.
Right? Yep.
Have you checked the media this morning? The left-leaning media is not talking about yesterday very much.
Well,
I'm surprised. I cannot understand why. What's going on?
Yeah, it's funny because markets ended up in the green yesterday, and as we speak, I'm looking at it, and the Dow is set to open, and also the S&P 500 set to open at about 2.4% higher. So it looks like, as we said yesterday.
What it's showing right now on my screen, bro?
What's that?
You're looking at the Dow 2.31%.
Yep.
With a rising fast in capital letters underneath it, and the SP 500 2+76 with a rising fast underneath it. I wanted to show this morning either way. That's one of the things. I just wanted to go look at the markets, especially the SP 500, the Dow, and I even wanted to show NASDAQ and the Canadian stock market.
Yep.
Just to show you what actually happened yesterday. And, turns out that although you should never listen to us because we are not very intelligent
We
people,
got
we don't
lucky
know
this
the fuck
time.
we're talking. Yeah, it ain't luck. They just read a couple of books on the subject.
Yeah.
I did not make up what I said yesterday. I just read it in a book. But all to say that it's interesting if you look at what non-partisans were saying about this, because
Yeah.
both the left and the right were panicking yesterday. Yet you look at guys like the long video that I showed yesterday, that you can really tell from which political party he represented, and it didn't really matter. But it's interesting how he wasn't panicking. The other one I found were like, hey guys, always happens. And what would Patrick Bet David saying that out of the 9 last big panics, there's only one that within the next 6 months to 18 months, it didn't go back up, but outperformed what it was before. Tony, what's going on, bro? What is going on?
Tony, how's she going? Did you end up, was it you, Tony, that was going to the Polyev rally last night?
Shit, that's true. It was right down the road from him. Yeah, you're right.
Was Tony. How did that go?
Bro, I don't know if that was yesterday, but I know you wanted to talk about that later on. But
we'll talk about that later.
Man, I've seen videos where it says like it's 12 to 15,000 people.
That's what I'm going to show.
And it's pretty much aligns with the question I have for you guys. So obviously we're going to talk about the market. We're going to talk about the Canadian election. And as Rob just mentioned, we will definitely talk about crowd sizes. And I also wanted to talk about the hands-off protest, the anti-Trump / anti-Elon Musk. I wanted to talk about it yesterday. Didn't have a chance because goddamn, we spent a lot of time on the market, which made sense.
Yep.
But yeah, man, the question at the bottom, question I have for you guys: does crowd size represent voter intentions? Because if we look, if they were during the last campaign when they were comparing Trump to Kamala Harris, Trump was smoking her when it came to crowd sizes. Like she could have people like Beyonce that she had to pay millions to show up, and she could still not get anywhere close to the crowd that would attend Trump's rallies. And we're starting to see the same thing in Canada, although he's not inviting. I'm not saying that Carney is inviting any celebrities, at least. Oh no, that's not true. He's done videos. I forgot about that. But do they represent voters' intentions? Because the polls are still showing, at least the polls that I've seen are still showing that Carney is destroying Polyev. Yet if you look at the crowd sizes, they're not anywhere close to each other. Like it seems like Polyev is really, really popular when it comes to their attendance. And I think Tony is confirming that, right?
Yeah, Tony here says he did go. Oh, sorry. You put that up there.
That's fine. There you go.
Yeah, Tony said, yes, I did, referring to going to the Polyev rally, and it was packed. And yeah, I've got a video I'm going to show later that shows exactly that. To your question, I mean, it has to on some level, right? Like you have to assume every single person who goes is going to be interested enough to go out to a rally will probably vote for that person. And because I don't think rallies are things people go there to be convinced. I think you go there if you already know who you're voting for.
Yeah.
And it's not the only factor for sure. I think we talked yesterday. We've talked a few times about polling. It just doesn't seem to be what it used to be. It started really being noticeable around the time Trump got elected the first time. But I think, there's lots of reasons that have nothing to do with politics that I think might explain that. Like we even talked yesterday about the phone habits of older people versus younger people, right? And I do believe that is a factor. So I think, I think if you're getting 10, 12, 15,000 people to rally, especially in Canada, we don't have that political rally culture that they do in the States, right? Like they always have these big old rallies for both sides. But you're getting that much out in Canada. I feel like that has to mean something. And if I'm Carney, I'm not at all feeling comfortable with these polls. I'm gonna be going out and I'm gonna be doing whatever I can. And just you can tell the energy seems to be different at a Carney rally versus a Poilievre rally.
It's the age too, right?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, these old timers
Did you
are not out.
see? There's not a lot of young people at,
No,
and
no.
and I got a feeling that the young people that are at the liberal rallies are there because they have to take care of the old ones. Like it's it's almost like
Probably,
it's,
yeah. Mom and dad are out
yeah.
there, and they need a carer. Yeah, yeah.
That's almost what it looks like to me. Like I might, obviously, I'm extremely biased, but it doesn't look good if you just look at the crowd sizes and you look at the intensity. You look at the type of people that are there. There's a lot of young people at Poilievre's rallies. There's a lot of just blue collar, regular dudes that seem to be family guys. And unlike what the media is saying, women don't hate Poilievre. You know, they're using the same speech as they were saying
They're trying
against
to do
Trump.
Yeah, they're
Women don't like Trump.
It's not,
That's not true.
That's not going to fly. It isn't. There's
No.
no like or hate whatever you feel about the politics. Poilievre is not Trump, not in any way. He's not. Their positions aren't the same. Their temperament is certainly not the same. They're really trying to hitch him to that horse. The media is. Although we're going to talk a little bit about media bias and politics later in the show. Maybe
there's no bias in politics. What? There's no bias in media. Stop it.
I had some interesting, saw some interesting, I guess you could call them confessions by some mainstream media people about what they've done wrong lately, and I think that will be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it still clearly exists. They're still clearly trying to make Poilievre into Trump, and I mean, if they were gonna do that, Max Bernier would be the more obvious choice. He's the one who actually you could maybe make the case that he's Trump-like, but of course they're not, because it's not really about being accurate. It's about smearing Poilievre. So yeah, we'll dig into that. But
because they're definitely, since you're approaching it, I do not know of another politician that's like Donald Trump. That I don't know anybody else that has this type of polarity. Like the dude, Poilievre is a career politician. He is closer to a Kamala Harris. He's closer to a Joe Biden. I'm not saying in age, but as the type of job that he's had. He's your typical politician that's been around forever. He's been in politics since his early 20s. I think it's 24 when he was first elected or something along those lines. Yep. And he's probably in his 40s now. So he's been around for about 20 years, and he's always been a politician. On the other hand,
that's Trump's job, right?
100%, yeah. And you look at a guy like Trump, the guy is a business guy. The guy is a showman. Like, people forget that he was on TV for more than a decade. Like, the dude knows how to play a camera. Love him or hate him, the guy is extremely witty. Very fast on, like, you just insult him and he's right back at you. Like, he doesn't hesitate. He's like right back at, and we saw just from the interviews, like from the interview that I showed from Pierre Poilievre yesterday, when once again the media is comparing him to Donald Trump, and he's not fast on his feet. He's not a very witty guy. Like, I don't consider, like, as much as I can praise him when he's right, I'm not a fan. I think it's pretty, if you've watched the show before, you know how I feel about Pierre Poilievre. He's not a super smart guy. He's not a witty guy. He's not a great speaker. He's not a good, he's not a great leader. To me, he's not. Like, he doesn't endorse, he doesn't say what he believes in. He flip-flops all the time. So for them to compare him to Trump is not an insult to Poilievre. It's an insult to Trump, because they're not alike whatsoever. Like or Trump, like him, hate him, he's very captivating. You're going to listen to him. You're going to pay attention.
Yeah, he's got a charisma. He's got a charisma that Poilievre does not. I would, full disclosure, like I don't, I know a lot of people don't really talk about their personal politics, who they're going to. I don't really
Sure.
have any issues with that. I'm undecided, but I'm definitely considering voting for Polyev as a traditional liberal supporter. I I've talked on the show about my concerns with voting for Carney, and honestly, it isn't really about Carney at all. I like Carney more than Trudeau. That isn't saying a whole lot. My take is more that I just don't think you can reward the Liberal Party for the last 9 years of economic performance. So I feel like my options are strategically not vote, which is not satisfying, or probably vote for Polyev. I guess, I'm not going to say never. If Carney absolutely wows me, I'm just going to leave that door open just for the sake of fairness or open-mindedness. But as it stands right now, I really can't imagine I would. I just think the Liberal Party needs to lose before they will get the idea that they need to make some serious changes. Go ahead.
No, but did you see the message? Like, did you see a comment from Clown World?
Yeah,
I'm assuming that it's a she. It seems like it's a woman, but we don't know anymore. But I'll assume she's a woman.
Yes, I do believe. So Clown World says Polyev qualified for his full pension since he was 31 years old and is now worth $25 million. He knows nothing about the real world. Yeah, it's funny how these career politicians manage to get such incredible net worth on their government salary, right? It's
impressive when you're making 250 grand. I know a lot of people that make that salary and above, and I can tell you something, they ain't fucking worth 25 million.
No.
They're dumb, because you're pretty. I would be curious to see where he gets his money from.
Well,
how did you turn a $200,000 salary into 25 million as a career politician?
And what's so funny is no one on either side ever really talks about it, right? That's how you know they're all in on it. Like, this isn't a partisan thing. None of them want to kill the golden goose. And that's essentially what's going on there. Clown World says Polyev has nothing Trumpish about him at all. I agree with this.
I agree.
And correct, she is a woman. Just before we get started, I'm just checking.
I was kind of being an asshole, Clown World. I don't know what your name is. I don't think I've ever seen you on the show before, but you would have. If you stick around, you'll see I'm just an asshole. Obviously, you're a woman. I'm just making fun of the left. That's it.
I'm just checking our on the feed on my X account, and I got a comment here says, "Are you quoting Trump?" So I feel like that's a good segue into explaining the title. Don't be a panic.
Yes,
correct. That is quoting from Trump.
I thought it was awesome.
I mean, it's classic Trump, right? He's an idiot. Like, he's gonna say something stupid. He's gonna make some stupid name, right? Little Marco, fucking Sleepy Joe, PANICAN. But let me see who made
clever, but he's clever. Like him or not, he's just very witty. He's very.
I wonder if he has a team. Stuff, right? If he has a team coming up with these names.
Of course, but I don't know that they do or not. That's the worst part. Is I don't know if they need to, because he seems like the type of guy that just pretty much whatever comes up to mind, he's like blah, 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 blah. He just says it, and that's probably one of them. But maybe you're right. Maybe there's a team that thought about this, but I thought I'd show. But to answer, if you want to answer that question,
yeah. Absolutely. And I'm just gonna.
If you want to comment, if you want to answer him, you're absolutely right. That's where I got the title from. I thought it was fucking hilarious. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panicking. I'm pretty sure I took directly from his post yesterday. I will show you guys afterwards.
I just responded to. So that's Chairman Neary. Just for you and anyone else watching, if you actually. So you just commented on my actual post, but if you actually click onto the stream itself, there'll be another comment box. Yeah. And when you do that, you'll actually show up here on the show, like Clown World, and her name is Sylvie. So yeah, that's a lot better than saying Clown World says. Clown World says. I'll remember that, Sylvie. Thanks.
I won't. Sorry, I'll call you Clown
I'm in charge of the name remembering. Don't worry. That's my thing. But yes, so that's, if Chairman Neary, if you're still watching, it's a little easier just to jump in and you can actually get on the show. There's another comment there.
She has a sense of humor, man. Like Clown World, Sylvie has a sense of humor. You
Oh yeah,
belong here, then.
absolutely. Well,
Seems like you belong here. Oh, you have to with two fucking idiots like you and I.
Yeah, a couple of yahoos. And also the you know, the don't be stupid, don't be panicking refers to, if you watched our show yesterday, we were essentially saying, you know, not to brag or pat ourselves on the back. And we did very, very clearly say this is not, you know, we're a couple of yahoos. Do not take our investment advice. But we said, you know,
but listen to us.
Yeah, we said, you know, there might be a time to buy. And that is, you know, we're just going by like nonpartisan financial advice. Even if you don't want to buy, certainly do not sell. You never sell into the panic. That is just a bedrock investing rule. And as I look at the markets again, they look like, I don't believe they don't open for another hour, but the pre-market has the Dow up 2%.
We'll go over it. Like, I wanted to show every single one of them just because of what we said yesterday, but let's be on the same page. What is a PANICAN before we show you the
post, you go ahead and read that.
Yep. So it says a person whose entire personality is producing fear porn aimed at anything President Donald Trump says or suggests. There's a theory they read the book Chicken Little too much as a child. Example of PANICANs include anyone employed by CNN, MSNBC, those who include pronouns in their bio, and especially those who said, sorry, Biden was mentally fit. Everyone on The View is a PANICAN. The verb of PANICAN is to panic, but only when it revolves around Trump.
Okay, so clearly, go ahead.
But under Joe Biden, oil prices rose, but now they are dropping, and everyone on the left is panicking. So there you go. So it's a redneck accent. I should have recognized the redneck accent in there. It's just saying panic, but you're panicking.
It's funny. I thought it was.
I love it. I fucking love it,
funny.
bro.
I thought it was actually. I thought it was like you panic, but someone on the right who's panicking, and that, like Republican, like a panicking Republican. I thought it was like that, but just anybody.
So too. But I thought so too. That's exactly what I thought it was. But it looks like I was incorrect.
But to Charmian Neary, who made that comment, yeah, I mean, what we're talking about more or less, it's not that we are, you know, if you watch this show, we are not pro Donald Trump in any way. He's a very quotable guy. You know, he says a lot of funny shit. Once I got out of my Trump derangement syndrome that I had his first term, you can at least kind of see, like, he's a funny guy, right? He's funny. He says a lot of funny shit. He's an idiot. He's a blowhard, but, you know, he's a funny guy. You know, some of my best friends are idiots. Some of my best friends are blowhards. So I've been known to be an idiot once or twice. So, you know,
multiple time on this show, bro. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm any better. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Just putting it out there. But yes, I agree wholeheartedly. But yeah, you know, we're just because Donald Trump said something does not mean we're not gonna, you know, we're gonna go with the funnies when it happened, when we got him.
But it's funny. Yeah. Like, to me, when I chose that title, don't be stupid, don't be a panicking. It's clever. It's very clever. You can hate him or love him. Him and his team come up with the most quotable shit. And there's a reason why he's been the most quoted, most researched person in probably 20 years now. Like, I don't think Andrew Tate beat him once and he was all proud. He even posted about it. But he is always the most researched guy on the internet. And I don't even think he needed to be president. I'm pretty sure that over the past 4 years, he was still probably the most researched guy on the internet just because it's fucking Donald Trump. So he has to be doing something right. Love him or hate him, he knows how to keep his name on the fucking social media front on everything. Everything. He's always there. Yep. You cannot not find Trump. You know, there was a joke in Ted. Do you know the movie Ted?
Oh, yeah.
They said that you're 2 clicks away from a black cock. Do you remember that? It's Donald Trump's the same thing. You're 2 clicks away from a picture of Donald Trump or a comment of Donald Trump. You're 2 clicks away from seeing Donald Trump.
I mean, he's made a pretty significant mark on the culture of America. but by extension, Western civilization, like him or hate him, you can't deny that. And guys, I'll just take this moment to remind you that, of course, we love you guys. We love our audience engagement. So please, if you have any questions, comments, shoot them in the text box, and we'll answer them here live on air. If you do like the show, please like and share, especially if you're on X. We feel like we really believe in this show. And we feel there's a need for this sort of, a show that kind of tries to cut through a lot of the partisan bullshit and just calls it like it is. And if you agree with that, we would love you like and share. As well, you can also check us out on Spotify if you don't really have the time to sit down and watch an episode in the middle of the day. Like, we're all busy people, except for us doing this fucking show. But you can always download us on the Political Orphans on Spotify and listen to us at your leisure. So with that preamble out of the way, let's where do we want to start today?
I wanted to show a couple of things, but it's funny, man. I saw this morning, and I'm just going to mention it right now because I saw Tim Pool on Rumble is talking about this right now. And I don't know if you saw that. I don't know why I forgot. But there's a new study that just came out, and they were talking to the left, and they're showing that 55% of the responders hope Trump got killed. Like they're hoping, like they're showing how 55% of the leftists that responded to obviously that responded.
I'm gonna look this up as you're speaking that because I saw something about that.
Because I completely forgot I wanted to talk about this because I'm a fan of psychology, right? And this to me is scary as shit. To have 55%, like let's call it 1 out of 2 lefty that agrees that wish Trump would have got murdered. That to me is fucked up. As much as I dislike Carney, I don't wish him to be dead.
You don't want to be
what
murdered.
I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
No, at all. Like zero, at all. As much as I dislike him and I think he's fucking evil, I don't wish anybody's death. Anybody. It just. See. Oh, so it was Roger
Rutgers.
Yeah. Do you want to blow it up?
Let me see here.
There you go. That's perfect.
I'll just read the preamble here. So this is a Rutgers study revealing assassination culture, and it's particularly strong and rising among people who identify themselves as left of center. 48.6% say that murdering Elon Musk is justified. 55.2% say that murdering President Trump is justified. And here is what those numbers look like. Okay, so you've got 9% say, only 9% say there is no justification to murder Elon Musk. Jesus. 13%, only 13% say there is no justification for murdering Donald Trump. But this is crazy, man. This is like, I'm a liberal, man. I'm on the left. We got to do better than this. You can hate Donald Trump all you want. You can hate Elon Musk all you want. But like to half of the left wants to murder them. Like that's a serious problem, man. At some point we do need to ask ourselves, right? Are we the good guys here? And I think I'm not sure what this is. First of all, I think this is, you got to, like, when you take these polls, certainly there's an amount of grain of salt, right? Some of these people, I'm sure, are just trying to be edgelords, trying to be extreme, and saying that. I don't think there's actually 50% who literally would murder Elon Musk. But within that number, there undoubtedly is. There are going to be crazy people out there. And I think that. You need to be careful no matter what side you're on, because, I think part of it is this, there's clearly a shift in cultural dominance. The left has been culturally dominant for the last 20 to 30 years, and the right is now ascendant. And a lot of that is due to the left's excesses. It's because the left has been just going down this batshit crazy fucking road, this obsession with identity politics, the fact that they're telling us that men can be women, that women can have penises, men can give birth, women don't deserve single sex spaces. There's a lot of crazy built into this. And the normies in the middle, the moderates, the centrists, they're saying, I don't want any part of that shit. And so they're shifting over to the right. And so if you want someone to blame on the left, look at yourself, look in the fucking mirror. But what's happening is, since the left has been culturally dominant for so long, they cannot, I don't want to say they as in everyone on the left. I'm on the left. But there is certainly a portion of the left that cannot accept this, and they perceive their loss of cultural dominance as something that needs to be responded to with violence, and that is wrong. The correct thing to do is to take stock of what your positions are, what your beliefs are on your side, and say, where did we go wrong? Why are the moderates leaving us? Why is society moving to the right? What did we do wrong? And learn from that and do better, not to murder the other side. That's not any kind of reasonable solution that a reasonable person would ever have.
But you know what's interesting? You remember Luigi Mangione, right? The guy that killed us.
That's a great example of it.
That murdered the CEO in cold blood, right in the streets.
Yep.
That guy is absolutely loved by a lot of the people on the left. And just to go back to your poll,
I'm not bring that up again.
No. It's just to kind of, because you said something. I don't think that they meant that. Let's call it 50%, because it's basically plus minus 5% there.
Sure.
But 50% of people are not saying that they would murder Trump or Elon Musk. They would find it satisfactory, as in they would agree with it. There's a big difference between saying I would murder Elon Musk or Donald Trump. That's not what they're saying.
Versus
they don't have the ball. They don't have the balls to do it. They're saying that it would be justified, as in, if it happened, they'd celebrate it. Because what did they do with Luigi Mangione? Like, that guy was revered.
That's exactly what they did.
The left is like, woo!
Fuck yeah.
But then, did you hear about this guy? There's a kid that stabbed another kid.
Austin Metcalf?
Yes, I was
going to ask if we should talk about that today. Actually,
I don't like to name names. I don't like to encourage this type of behavior, and those guys are all looking for attention. So I never give the name of school shooters and the name of those type of individual. But a black, and I'm sorry to do the race thing here, but a black kid stabbed a white guy.
Kid,
And kid, they're teenagers. Obviously, they almost look like men. They probably are men. They're just young men.
Yep.
But did you see the money that they raised? They're 17-year-olds. So
that's disturbing a little bit.
Did you see? Like, they have a goal of $200,000
or something.
They raised between $160,000 and $180,000 as per the last time I checked, and that's insane. So a guy that murdered another guy is getting has reached more than $160,000 off of a $200,000 goal for his defense. Like, he clearly murdered someone. And remember Daniel Penny, that gets arrested for saving a guy.
Yeah.
So you look at the roles, right? A white guy, old veteran, like a veteran. Ends up murdering someone. It's not his fault. I'm saying murder because at the end of the day, he did die in his hands. It was not his fault. Plus, even if it was his fault, I would condone it because he defended people in that train. But the point of the matter is, that dude was in deep fucking shit. He was getting destroyed in the media to have done that as a fucking racist white guy to a black guy. That was a schizophrenic, that was on drugs, that said he was ready to die and to hurt people that day. Then you have a black kid, a black young man that murders a white young man, and they're able to raise more than $160,000 for his defense. That to me is insane, but that shows the Luigi Mangione effect. That shows the poll that we were just showing out, 50%, right?
I think that's reflected in that poll.
100%.
And you said, like, when you brought up race, and you were kind of like, I hate to bring it up, and I
I don't want to be that guy.
I agree.
You're a white guy, you're a black guy.
Yeah,
but we all know that if he was black, it's more acceptable than if he was white. That's the point I'm trying to make between Daniel Penny and this guy.
And the reason why I do think the race is relevant is it is because the left is making it relevant. It's the left that is making this a race thing. and basically saying, this is a black guy being railroaded because he's black. And I don't know enough about the case to say anyone's right or wrong. He's going to get his day in court, and I think he's claiming self-defense. And if it was self-defense, there was enough people there that I'm confident we will get to the bottom of this case. There was enough people there, enough witnesses. But the way, and this is, a perfect example of what I mean by the left's obsession with identity politics. This should not be a race thing. I do not believe it was a race thing. It was two boys, two young men, two probably sort of alpha types pumping their chest and thumping their chest. And that exists, that happens. And someone got killed and someone has to be accountable, or at least there will have to be a trial. It really had nothing to do with race as far as I'm concerned. But the left has made it about race because it's identity politics. They cannot look at anything other than through the lens of race. And that is a major, major problem with the left right now. This obsession with identity politics, this obsession with only looking at things, distilling all human beings down to our immutable traits, our sex, our gender, our race, our ethnicity. And it's a toxic worldview. And it actually perpetuates the racism that I always thought I saw on the left we were trying to get rid of. I always thought, and many on the right too, agree that racism is a problem that should be eradicated. But when I see, as a liberal, as a left, when I see people on the left are perpetuating racism, perpetuating the discrimination, then I feel like I have to speak out against it. And again, all the left saw was a black kid was killed by a white kid. Therefore, it's got to be race. Therefore, we got to raise money because it's racist. And that is fucking bullshit. And that's wrong. And if the left continues down this path, they have no one to blame but themselves when everyone else continues to slide rightward because people are sick of it. People want no more part of it. And I think you're right. I think this is a perfect reflection or a perfect example of that poll that we saw. That's clearly picking up on something that is very real. It's a very real phenomenon. And anyone with a brain who's followed this Luigi Mangione case understands he's a folk hero on the left. Why? Because the guy he murdered was deemed murderable. He was deemed to be worthy of murder. And that just does not compute with any form of value system, any sort of morality that I can subscribe to. That you can murder people, a family man, a man with a wife and kids, because his job, because he works in an industry that you don't like. That the left has some serious soul searching to do before we completely go off the fucking deep end.
I could go down the rabbit hole here, but I'm going to try to be polite for the people on the left. But, to me, when you have a culture that's ready to murder the unborn, this type of behavior doesn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? So the whole is a direct representation of the value we put on life. And I don't care where you look right now, and that's as much on the left and on the right. We don't put a lot of value on other people's life. And the right is
I agree with that.
The right seems to be doing it to the left seems to be doing it to the right. It's just it doesn't surprise me that we say things, that polls represent things like that. As much as it sounds stupid to me as a Christian, I'm not surprised because we don't value life anymore. So I'm not surprised, but I always will find it quite ironic that the people that tell me I'm a racist are putting all the emphasis on race when I'm not. An asshole's an asshole to me. I really don't give a fuck the color of your skin. Couldn't care less. Your education level, where you're from, where you live, I don't give a fuck. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. It's pretty fucking simple. Fucking simple.
And just to talk about sort of the abortion issue, obviously we obviously feel differently about that, and I agree with you to some extent. I think a lot of people who I think most people who are pro-choice, they don't actually believe that they're killing a child. Very few people are okay with killing children. I personally don't believe life begins at conception. I certainly do not.
That's always the debate.
Yeah,
something that I talk extensively on my other podcasts.
Yep.
It's always there. It always defines, and I think you're right. It always goes to where life is different. Where does life begin?
Yeah.
And is it murder? Because everybody, if everybody would be like me and say that life begins at conception,
then it's a
it
clear
would be
cut
murder.
Yeah, clear
It
cut.
would be murder. But at the same time, I've wondered many times, do they not want to believe that because that's their belief? And if that's your belief, it is what it is. As much as I disagree with it, you're entitled to having that belief. But do you believe that because it's easier for you to turn around and use abortion? This is where it's fine. This is where, because I used to be pro-choice, right? Until somebody challenged me and just put it, I just challenged me and I did some research. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's messed up. So is it because you refuse to be challenged and you want to believe that that's what it is because it makes you feel better about it? But the point, I'm not trying to make this a debate. It's not one of those subjects that will move the needle for anybody. All I'm saying is we don't put a lot of value as a society on life. Most of us don't seem to. So polls like that don't surprise me, because I'm pretty sure if you'd look at the right and you'd say, would it be okay to murder X person that's very woke? You would probably get polls that would show something similar. I would not be surprised if you saw polls that might be similar, maybe not as bad, but it would still not surprise me if they were. Do you know what I mean? Just because they're the enemy, they're the this, they're the that, it's easy. It's okay to get rid of them. I disagree with that too. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't believe in murdering people. So
yes, I agree with that. And I think just a final thing I will just say, because we kind of specifically avoid the abortion debate for that reason. But
you're just talking about it yesterday.
But for me, it does. I don't feel like it needs to be like. I agree. If I believe life began at conception, I too would be pro-life. I think I can at least understand that. If we just agree that we can't necessarily agree on where it begins, like I do believe that.
But that's what it is.
I believe that abortion at 7 months. I do believe that's wrong and it should be criminalized. I do believe that's murder. Somewhere between probably conception and viability outside the womb. But again, we won't go down there. But I think my only point in bringing that up was just to show an example of a way we can disagree respectfully without calling people monsters or whatnot. And I think there's value in that too. And I think that's something this show does well as well. So I'll just take
start at Tony G, because I want to ask him a question about that. Okay. All right, Free Dahmer. Are you talking about Jeffrey Dahmer? You crazy bastard.
Where are we going with this?
Jesus. Where are we going? Jesus. Let's free a serial murderer.
I think he's making the joke, like laughing about it. Yeah, of course.
But that'd be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Let's free Dahmer.
I think that's essentially where he's going with that. Gary says, good afternoon, gents.
What's going on, bro?
Gary, how's it going? He says, oh, you remember when Gary was trying to figure out where he saw you? He said he thought he saw you on what was the show? I forget what it was, but we were looking for it, couldn't find it. He thinks it was Chris Freestones. Do you remember Chris Freestones?
No. I have to look at it. Fuck, I'm terrible at this, man.
Sylvie says Dahmer is dead. Yes, he is. I think Tony G was making a sort of a facetious comment about the kind of people who would say that they think it's justified to murder Elon Musk, or maybe perhaps the kind of people that would celebrate Luigi Mangioni's actions. Not that they're the same thing. Jeffrey Dahmer is a uniquely terrible monster, and Mangione is just a run-of-the-mill murderer, if you want to call it that, right? Either way, I don't think he should be celebrated.
He was a cannibal too, right, Jeffrey Dahmer?
He
that's what I'm looking at right
people.
Now.
He ate people.
Yeah.
Did you see that show? There was it was one of those shows. It's like a mix between, and a lot of them come out these days where it's a mix between a documentary, like it's all very factual, but it's played out live action, like a show or movie. And there was a Dahmer one just a year or so ago.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, on Netflix.
I didn't see it though, but
it's really good. It's really good. And man, some of the details just fucking
16. That's what they
16 people. Yeah. Just
well, he was first degree murder, but often those guys kill. So I don't want to say I'm a fan of serial killer. That's not what I mean, but I love the psychology behind it. But like right here, if you look, I have two massive encyclopedia that go over the type of personality and they talk about their stories, like how did they believe they became that, and it's fucked up, but most of the time it's from a very abusive woman, very abusive mother. Like it's insane the power that parents have on their children. You can literally mold your children to be fucked in the head if you really wanted to. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think just abuse in general. What's interesting about Dahmer's case is he wasn't really abused. His dad was maybe a little neglectful, but
But nothing crazy.
certainly nothing that would justify murdering and
Damn.
eating 16 people. But yeah, that's he also unique among serial killers. I believe he sort of had some remorse about what he did. Obviously, it does not just change anything about anything that he did, but it's just a unique facet of his psychology. Because most of these serial killers do not give a shit at all. They're either proud of it or they're and it's, you have to wonder about the psychology of a person who would do those things and yet still have some semblance of a conscience, right? How could you justify that? That's got to be a pretty wild. And I agree with you. Like, it's not that it's just interesting,
but it's fascinating.
That kind of like
fascinating.
Yeah, that kind of like psychology that sort of very.
How do they become what they become?
Yeah,
like this is what fascinates me, is how did they? What I've always wondered, is there a crack in somebody's personality? Would they have
been there no matter what? Would they have gone?
Are they predisposed, or is it really something that happened to them that made them? This is always my question when I read about serial killers: is were they born to be one? That's always the question I'm trying to.
It's probably a bit of a mix of both. It's probably because there's lots of people who get abusive childhoods and do not,
and they're okay.
Yeah, they don't murder people and eat them. I think it's probably
there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a small number of people who are predisposed, and then if they're placed into an abusive home, I think maybe it blossoms. But yeah, I agree with you. It's super fascinating to look into those psychologies. So what? Where are we?
Control Dahmer's dead. I got it. Yes, I know. Yeah, Tony G was just fucking around.
Yeah.
Well, earlier it all started with this, right? That was the whole point of 30 fucking minutes.
Oh, yes. This is where the PANICAN, a new party based on weak and stupid people.
Oh, fuck. No, but this was all. This is the post that Trump made yesterday. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a PANICAN. Obviously, that's where I got the quote that's the bottom of the screen right now. A new party based on the weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. It comes back a bit to what we were saying yesterday, that Democrats have been speaking about this for decades, that there's a problem with the way the reciprocity, there's a problem with the trade deficit with China. Something needs to get done. And it didn't matter that it was Pelosi, that it was Sanders, that it was Obama after he was president. They all talked about it. And you can probably find a quote of all those guys, both Republican and Democrats, talking about this. But, like we were saying yesterday, it just love Trump or hate him. At least he has the balls to move the needle. He always seems to do that no matter the subject. I don't think that dude believes in status quo. And that's what he's doing right now. And obviously he's doing it to piss people off on purpose by giving them a name. But at the end of the day, we all know that if Obama would have done something like that, or if Biden would have done something like that,
they'd be all about it.
People would have been defending them left, right, and center.
And the right would be equally as, it's 100%. The worst ever.
It's just that even right now, the right would, like yesterday, even the right was like, hey, bro, what the fuck are you? It's been a while since I've seen a uni-party kind of in the US looking, both sides were looking at Trump like, hey, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, what the hell's going on here?
Well, I mean, like you said, Trump is a hater of the status quo. Now, that can be good and that can be bad. I think you need to pick and choose which status quos that you want to attack. He's going all in right away. He's got a plan. You may not agree with it, but I do believe he has a plan. And I think there's this idea on the left that he's just sort of like destroying things for fun. I don't think that's true at all. I think he genuinely believes that he's doing something that needs to be done. That doesn't mean he's right, and it doesn't mean it won't blow up in his face. But I don't think he necessarily, like, there's still a lot of Trump derangement syndrome that is not, it's not helpful to any stretch. It's not even helpful to have it, if you have TDS, because there are, as you said, both parties have been talking. It's funny because these kind of moves are more typical of like a left-wing leader, because it's the left that's always about disrupting status quos, right? The left, like the progressive side, is one that wants
part of being a progressive
things. Yeah, and the conservative side is the ones that wants to keep it the same. So really, this disruption of status quo is really right up the left's alley. It's really right up the progressive's alley. It's just the messenger they disagree with, and I think that's a simple-minded way to look at it. You may not agree with what he's doing, but he's doing something. I think there's value in that. There's major, there's a lot of rot built into the system. You could call it that. And is this going to clear that out? I don't know. But
keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep your thought. I found a video just for you. It aligns exactly what you're saying.
Perfect.
Then continue your thought. This is Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, and this is what he said yesterday. So listen to this, and this one, man, perfect timing. This one.
Okay, sweet, cool.
Can tell you that there are 50, 60, maybe almost 70 countries now who have approached us. So it's going to be a busy April, May, maybe into June. And Japan is a very important military ally. They're a very important economic ally. And the U.S. has a lot of history with them. So I would expect that Japan's going to get priority, just because they came forward very quickly. But it's going to be very busy. And if President Trump, again, gave himself maximum negotiating leverage, and just when he achieved the maximum leverage, he's willing to start talking.
Yeah. I mean, that's
50 to 70 countries approached them after the tariffs saying, we're ready to negotiate.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it might work, right? It might just be crazy enough to work. And I just think we just don't have enough information to either say it's a good move or a bad move. Like, we really, it's almost like in this sort of day and age where attention spans are at all-time lows. Everyone needs to know right now, how do I feel about this? I need an opinion on this thing right now. And sometimes the right thing to do is say, we just don't know. We just need to wait and see. I would disagree just as strongly with someone who said this is absolutely the right course of action as I would someone who says this is idiotic and is destroying the American economy. It's doing something. It is absolutely dislocating the global world order, but there's a lot of arguments to be made that this is a world order that needs dislocation. And so it's not, it's entirely appropriate, and I think it's the right call to at this point say wait and see.
And this was going to what we were talking about earlier, and I couldn't agree with you more. Do I know if he's doing the right thing or not? I have no fucking clue. But to tell me that at least 50 countries have contacted you saying we're ready to talk, and then you look at the SP 500, for example, in the last 24 hours, it's up just under 1% today.
Yeah.
You look over the past 5 days. You remember yesterday when you did a 5 days, it wasn't 10%.
Yeah.
Now it's at 8.37. You start looking at a month, it's at 9%. But then, like, the thing is that he is doing something. He is moving the needle, and it is, man, we were thinking, like, look, from a year ago, there's not that much from a year ago. That's when Biden was in power.
From 1 year.
We're talking about,
if you look over there,
like, you're looking at 1.63%. That's not much from a year ago.
No, it isn't. It is not.
And now this we're talking COVID here. So it's so bad that it's 83% above COVID times.
Well, and if you look at this long-term chart,
right?
Yeah, if you look at this long-term chart, you can see there's that first bump on the left, and then there's a big dip. right? If you just go back to the
But
5 year.
look, and this is just over the past 25 years. It's 500. The SP 500, if you have money to put aside for the long term, is the best investment you can put in. Which timeline you want to go on?
Go 5 years.
5 years. There you go.
Yeah. So if you see, it's starting over here at the far left, and then it goes up, and then around peaks at 2022, and then it goes down, and there's a big trough in 2023. That's that's about as big a drop as those like now, and then it goes up again, and now we're in another trough. But like this is how stock markets work. There's ups and downs and ups and downs. You're still in that upward trend, and I mean, if you look at that chart, if you know anything about trading, not even necessarily investing for the long term, but like trading. That's a buyer's chart right there. You're still in an upward trend, but you're in a short-term low. That is when all the smart traders pile in.
Yesterday, we were saying if you have if you had $100,000 invested, you invested $100,000 yesterday, just for sake of argument, you made 10 grand overnight. Like, insane. Like Easy. It's insane. Like it's absolutely insane. Like you bought it at 10%. Give it a new few days, you'll probably end up exactly where we were. So you literally made 10 grand over a couple of days. It's insane. Well, you need to have the balls to do it, though.
Yeah. And also, don't take our advice. But one thing I feel...
Thank you for saying that again.
One thing I feel strongly that we can advise is do not sell. And that's just from every single financial advisor will always tell you, do not sell at the bottom of a panic. Prices are like a rubber band. You can only pull it back so far before it's going to snap back. Most smart traders will look for these kind of dips as times to enter the market. The
Dow Jones is basically identical. The Dow Jones is basically the same. But you know what's interesting is this. You look at CNBC, SP 500 up less than 1%. Yeah, they're so, how annoying this is.
Yeah.
You declared 2 days ago that the apocalypse was going on, that this was Black Monday 2.0 when Black Monday dropped 22%. And you're basically showing us less than 1% of drop. It's actually over in the past 24 hours. It's over almost over 1%. Like, fuck off. Like,
and now it's only up 1%, and it's running out of steam.
But then you have Economy from 18 minutes ago that's literally saying Wall Street rebounds, Dow Jones surges 1,000
points. Yeah.
So
a lot of like investing and trading news is just nonsense. It goes by like the hour by hour movement, and I mean, you're just gonna run yourself into and this is all pre-market right now. Pre-market is like only if the volume is very, very low, and so prices can go up and down. It's really going to be when the market opens here in a half an hour that you're really going to see real movement one way or the other.
Look from again, just like I showed from this is NASDAQ. When I showed from the SP 500, it's basically the same thing. It's barely 3% difference from last year when Joe Biden was in power and supposedly doing super well with the economy. Like, which one is it? Which one is it? And you go again from 5 years ago, it's up 92%. Like, again,
exactly. Yeah, it's
just let me show you one more, just to show to our Canadian ones, because you do have the TSX in Canada, and you know what? Same fucking thing. Like, there's no. You just look on the right. Just look at the right. Does it look like we're in a world meltdown with everything in the green? This is the thing, right? They made it sound like it was the end of the fucking world yesterday. And yet, look at the TSX. You're looking from less than a year ago.
What's down 0.13%?
Not even we're above what we were a year ago. It all goes to show that the news outlets are very fucking good at making us believe whatever the fuck they want to make us believe. Right?
One is, and especially like if you follow like the financial news people, it's always stocks will go up one day. It's like, oh, it's a huge rally. They'll go down one day. Oh, it's the end of the world. You really can't listen to those people.
But we know if it was Joe Biden that did this, he would be seen as a great fucking president. Can you imagine putting all those tariffs on the world and barely market moves 1%?
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
he
saying?
would.
How brilliant of a strategist is Joe Biden? Like, fuck off.
I'm gonna show something here that as I'm looking at the let me zoom in here. Is this right here? So I was looking at the just using the CNBC to look at the prices, but then I saw this here, this article.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
saw
see this?
that.
Elon Musk calls
Well,
Peter Navarro dumber than a sack of bricks. And I
but
thought,
it's interesting because I saw another article saying that Elon Musk wanted Trump to stop the tariffs. Very interesting.
that is interesting. So it's interesting because it shows there isn't consensus agreement on some of these things in Trump's camp. And what that means is that people like Navarro, who are obviously very pro tariffs, they're the ones driving this. You know, at some point they might fall out of favor. And Trump might say, all right, Elon, you know, you take the lead. And if that's the case, you know, the fact that there is some disagreement is another, I think, thing that's bullish for stocks, because I think it suggests that there is a limit to how far Trump is willing to go. You know, he's not going to just abandon the strategy, but he certainly can do things to tweak it or make limit the downside. And when you have stocks has dropped as much as they have over the last, you know, even just couple days, like anybody who understands stock markets, or if you've ever done any trading or anything, you know that big moves one way or the other are almost always followed by maybe not equally big, but significant big moves in the opposite direction. So to have a fall like this for a few days, you're looking at I would be pretty surprised if today doesn't end up pretty big, a pretty big pretty big,
but it already
up
is
on the day.
Just by what what was his name? Scott. Shit, was it Scott?
Jennings?
Yes, Scott Bessent. No,
Okay,
Scott
yeah.
Bessent said the Treasury Minister, just having 50 to 70, let's say more than 50 countries contact them trying to make a deal, and all it costs is a couple of percent off the SP 500, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and even the TSX is higher than a day ago. So you know what I'm saying? If all of that cause just that small of a dip, but you get all those negotiations started.
Yep.
Like, it's hard for me right now as we stand to say Trump was wrong. Too early to say that he was right, but I can definitely not say he was wrong. I just can't. It's a matter of knowing, is he going to be right in the long run? But already, if you gave me now to take a decision, I would say he was right, just for 50 people, 50 countries calling him to negotiate. Just right then and there, because that's what I was saying yesterday. Not only is it a great tactic if it works, but it's a great negotiation tactic. Because again, how many times have we said this, that Trump always asks for the moon to shock you out of like, what the fuck is that guy talking about? And then what he wants, it's somewhere in the middle. It's actually not that bad. He just wants you to commit to something.
Yeah. I mean, it again, as you said, I think, you know, it's a wait and see thing. But the fact that all these countries have sort of come to the table, I think, is certainly supportive that he might be on something here. Now, I saw something that I thought was interesting. So if you guys watched the show yesterday, you might remember. So we had an excellent clip that we played of a guy that was sort of explaining what was going on with markets and what he thinks Trump might be doing. He mentioned someone named Ray Dalio.
Can you zoom in a bit?
Yes. So Ray Dalio, this guy here, he's just a hedge fund guy, but he was saying that Ray Dalio is sort of you know, a genius savant sort of thing.
That's the video, like the longer video I showed.
Yeah, that you showed yesterday.
Okay.
He mentions Ray Dalio as one of the inspirations for that theory that he had. And then I saw, and basically the theory was that Donald Trump is hoping to, you know, perhaps bring markets lower to force the Fed to raise interest rates, which will allow the United States to refinance a lot of debt. Yeah, at something like $9 trillion that's coming due.
But you mean lower the Feds to lower the interest rate, not raise
that's
them.
right. Oh, sorry, that's right. Yeah, lower the interest rate so that they can refinance debt at a much more. So it was an interesting, and he made a good case. But he mentioned Ray Dalio, and I saw a tweet from Ray Dalio, and this is just, again, it's just more of an informational thing, just sort of give you an idea of what this guy is saying. It's a pretty long article, so I won't read it. But I won't read it word for word, but I'll skim through it so you get the gist of it. So the title is, don't make the mistake of thinking that what's now happening is mostly about tariffs. So this guy is taking a big picture kind of look at it. He's thinking the tariffs are just a small picture, a small view into what's really going on. So he makes some he does his preamble here. He explains his argument, and he says what's going on here is actually there's 5 major sort of fundamental changes going on that we should all be paying attention to rather than just the tariffs. The first is that the monetary economic order is breaking down. There's too much existing debt in the world, really, and the vast majority is held by the United States. Essentially, the United States is taking on far too much debt. They are not able to finance their debt, and the excesses are becoming a huge drag on the economy, and that has to change. Now, do you remember what was the number yesterday that America is paying just in interest rates every year?
$1 trillion. $1 trillion right now in interest rate.
Yeah,
not in interest rate, in interest on their debt. They're paying
wild.
$1 trillion
just on the interest, right? And then they still have to pay off
the interest of the debt. That's not the debt. That's just the interest on the debt. Yeah.
And that is not sustainable. And that is essentially really, really starting to really drag down the American economy. And we've been warned about this for years, right? Like since the 90s, politicians have been talking about this on the campaign trail. We got to get the deficit down, but nobody does anything. And now I think we're starting to see what we all knew was probably coming is starting to come to pass. And so this guy, Ray Dalio's first point is this global monetary / economic order that is essentially built on American debt is coming to an end. It's not sustainable. So we have that as one major factor. The second is the domestic political order is breaking down due to huge gaps in people's education levels, opportunity levels, productivity levels, income and wealth levels. So that is essentially the loss of the American dream, right? We're all familiar with that. And you know what? That's directly connected to this issue, because I think we've talked about what happened when all these jobs were offshored to China in the 70s and 80s. You had a lot of these people in the Rust Belt states that basically made up the middle class. They, you could have a high school education, work down at the local GM plant, and you're making enough to have a nice home, 2 cars, vacation every year, a middle class lifestyle. And that is the American dream. And that was violently stripped away from millions of Americans. And that is, again, essentially that's the horse that Donald Trump rode in on in 2016. But this is, sorry, were you gonna say something there?
No. If you were done, yeah, I just wanted to add something, because yesterday I wanted to show a video from Warren Buffett, and one of the things that he was talking about education yesterday, but not in the context which he's approaching it, but in the context of a president. That one of the gripes that he didn't say it word for word, but one of the gripes he seemed to have with Trump is that Trump doesn't educate his people either.
Oh, that's interesting.
Trying to explain, because
he doesn't explain.
No,
why
he just does. He just does it. But it's interesting that Dalio's talking about education, because I think that the president should do the same too. Should be capable of going in front of the camera and say, guys, like let's say on Friday when we'll have a good idea if it worked or not.
Yep.
Just him for, hey guys, this is what I was trying to do. This is why I did
agree.
It. Thank you for, but that's what Buffett was saying. And I thought it was an interesting point, because I like to be educated by people. I like to have my leader look at me and say, bro, maybe you didn't understand, or you thought you knew what I was doing and you were wrong, or you were right. It's good for me too. I'm like, fuck, my research was actually on point, or God damn, I missed that one.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Continue. But I just thought there is value in education, not just for the people from an education system, but also from their president, or their leaders, to say, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, or I did what I did. I couldn't tell you. I had to let the market fuck around a bit, realize that there was consequences for once, but this is why I did it.
I agree. I think his advisor should get him out there and saying that, because that's leadership.
Fucking Warren
right?
Buffett, bro. It's Warren Buffett too. Like, I cannot take credit for this. I'm just repeating what Buffett did, what he said yesterday. So
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that would actually do a lot to help his cause, and I think he would be wise to heed that advice. So just on the second point, Dalio continues. So he's talking about the domestic political order breaking down, as we can see there. He says this is leading to democracies breaking down because democracies require compromise and adherence to the rule of law. History has shown that both break down at times like those that we are now in. History also shows that strong autocratic leaders emerge as classic democracy and classic law are removed as barriers to autocratic leadership. So he's saying, he's saying it isn't about tariffs. There's some much bigger forces at play here. And so that's the second point. The third point, the international geopolitical world order is breaking down because the era of one dominant power that dictates the order that other countries follow is over. And that one dominant power is the United States. That era is over. That you could think of that as the post-World War II. After World War II, America implemented this world order where they were the big cheese. They were the big swinging dick. There was a Cold War between the Soviet Union for a while. America won that. And since early 90s, they've been the ones in charge. And so what Ray is saying here is that order is breaking down. The multilateral cooperative world the U.S. led is being replaced by a unilateral power rules approach. In this new order, the U.S. is still the largest power in the world, but it is shifting to a unilateral America First approach. We are now seeing that manifest it's very smart. We are now seeing that manifest in the U.S.-led trade war, geopolitical war, technology war, and in some cases, military wars. So what Ray's saying here is this sort of cooperative world order is breaking down, and America is on some level recognizing that and saying, okay, well, it's now becoming a might makes right type world order. Whoever has the power rules, and they are stepping into the breach, and they're saying, okay, well, if it's going to be that kind of a world order, we're going to take charge.
And just look at how the left is reacting to this, because I want to talk about the hands-off protests after this, and this is a reaction to this. Because if you see the video, those are all the things that they're complaining about. Is like, it's not about me, it's not about all of us, it's about something else. It's like they don't feel that it's all about them anymore. It feels, oh, we're not treating our allies properly. And Canada's complaining about this. In Canada, we hate the US right now because they're not protecting our interests, but protecting their own before ours. So that's basically what we're seeing as being the neighbor of the US and somebody that spends a lot of time in the US. I can see that Canadians are like, oh, I don't like this. Well,
feel scary.
Motherfucker. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about America first. And that's what Trump's talking about. And I think Dalio's bang on again.
Yeah, again, yeah, and it is scary up here as Canadians, but at the end of the day, you have to understand that America's job is not to look out for Canada. You can make the argument that it's in their interest to keep us close, but they don't have to.
But that's different.
Exactly. Number 4, acts of nature are increasingly disruptive. He just puts that as a standalone point. And number 5, amazing changes in technology such as AI will be highly impactful to all aspects of life, including the money, debt, economic order, political order, international order, and the cost of active nature. So, and then he kind of goes down and he just draws his conclusion. Yeah, that's why I'm not reading it bit by bit. But what he's saying, I just thought it was a really smart sort of insight into what's going on and why it's not necessarily just about It's not just about tariffs. It's about, there's some major things. And I think anyone who's sort of like tuned in a little bit to the geopolitics of the world has a sense that there is some sort of change in the air, right? A breaking down of the old world order and the rebirth of the new. And that is scary on some level, but it doesn't have to be, right? We can do what we can to try to maybe the new world order will be a better one. Maybe it will be one that works better for us. Because I think there is no doubt, certainly among the left, because they love complaining about shit, that major changes needed to happen. And that is what we're seeing. We're seeing major changes. Now, whether these end up being good or not is it will remain to be seen. But I think it is important to think this isn't just about, and it isn't even about Trump. A lot of these dynamics that Ray Dalio was talking about, they're bigger than Trump. They're happening before Trump became president. Trump may be sort of, sticking his fingers in the cracks a little bit and accelerating some of this. But these dynamics, these forces predate Trump, and they are major structural things going on in the world that it's pretty small-minded to just focus all this on Trump. And I think that's his point there.
He's just grabbing them by the pussy.
Yeah. And when you're a star, they let you do it.
But it goes to show too the victim mentality that a lot of the left has. Because it seems like you'll see, like I'll show you, I want to show you this video about the hands-off protest, and obviously it's anti-Trump.
Okay.
It's very interesting what they're talking about, because I have no clue where they're getting that from. Like, it has to be from mainstream media somewhere, or Facebook groups, or Instagram. I don't know what it is. I don't know where they get that from, because it's so far off base. I'm like, what the fuck? Am I not living in the same world as you people? Like, where the fuck am I living right now? Like, what are you smoking?
All right.
I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't smoke. So what the fuck's the problem here?
Yeah. Well, let's.
If you wanted to finish your point, if you still had a point, it's just everything that you're saying and everything that Dalio's saying. I'm like, that video that I was watching.
It was brilliant.
Like,
it was a great video.
No, but the video I showed yesterday was brilliant. The post he just made is brilliant, but then it explains the video from the hands off. Kind of those two videos make sense of why Saturday happened.
Okay.
Why there's thousands of protests all over the US that went on to complain about Trump. And you're like, okay, what the fuck are you guys watching? Like, what? It really makes me wonder, what the fuck am I missing here? Am I not watching a certain part of the internet? Like, is a part of the internet blocked from me for consumption? Like, what the fuck is happening here?
I suspect it's mostly people watching mainstream media. Most people who get their news from social media, I think they may not love Trump, but I feel like they have less TDS for sure.
I don't know, man. But here's a video from Fox News that they did. They actually spoke to the hands-off protests. Some of them in New York, obviously, because they were all over the place. Like, if you saw some of the estimates that I've seen, were 5 million people actually protested on Saturday last week in the 50 states. Like, literally every single state had some type of protest. It could be 2 people, like it could be hundreds of. I don't think there was any 100,000, at least not by the pictures I've seen. But I just found it interesting that Fox News took the time to go talk to people. And here's a video. It's about 4 minutes long, but
with this blessed country. The democracy that was advanced democracy now in transition to dictatorship, and we
like just right there. I'm like, dictatorship. Like what am I missing here? Because Dalio just spoke about it, right? It's like there's a breakdown that's going on, and is that what am I missing? What dictatorship have I seen right now? I haven't seen anything.
Everything he's done has been within the law. You might not like it, but like presidents doing things you don't like, that's not a dictatorship. Dictatorship has a very specific meaning. And it's we've talked a lot. Like, what did they think was going to happen? Did they think they were going to like the things that Donald Trump does? The conservatives certainly would not have liked most of the things Kamala Harris would have done if she had won. Elections have consequences. You can't. Like, and I'm open to the idea that like I've got my eye out for some autocratic leader in the West to come up and start, dismantling the rule of law. But like everything he's done, like you might not agree with executive orders, but executive orders are not a dictatorial move. Like they are, that's a well-established right that the president has. Everything he's done. I don't think he's unilaterally declared any laws or dismantled any laws. Again, you might not like what he's done, but of course you're not going to like what he's done if you're far left and it's a Republican president. So yeah, right away it's it's sort of like, okay, well, you've sort of succumbed to propaganda here when you if you're going to say like he's a dictator, because nothing he's like, maybe he will become that. I'm open to that, but nothing he's done yet would suggest that.
Are almost in the fascist state right now.
Same thing. No, I don't agree with that.
I should have let those two words finish before
Yeah.
I could have.
It's all good.
Yeah, over 1,000 protests in all 50 states. And like I was saying, I saw estimates of 5 million people, give or take, throughout the U.S., which it's
That's a
big,
lot. Yeah.
but it would be massive for Canada at 35, 40 million. When you consider the U.S. 350 million, it's not that many people,
Yeah.
but it sounds like a lot, right?
Yeah.
Again, like I said before, I'm just happy that a lot of people left their mother's
I'm
basements
protesting
and got
everything
exercise.
that Trump stands for.
I think that
Like,
A lot of old
did you
people,
hear
right?
that?
leader,
A lot of old people. Every
It will
person they've
fit.
been.
It will fit very well with the Carney rallies
Yeah.
that you wanted to talk about. Because
Yeah.
again, it's funny you say that, because that's exactly what I wanted to mention. Look the age of the people they talk to, and I think there's one young person. All the rest are old white people, baby boomers that literally live in the best the baby boomers are the best
Oh
generation
fuck yeah!
in North
Like
America. Like, they had it. If I had to pick and choose a generation to live in, I want to be born right after 19. I want to be born in 1946. That's
Well,
when
they-
I want to be born, right? Like,
a lot of them climbed the golden ladder and then pulled it up behind them, right? Like a lot of these motherfuckers are like, like you look at most people's, parents. A lot of people have one house, two homes on a middle class salary. Like like my girlfriend's parents is, they're nice middle class jobs. I think her mom's a financial advisor. Her dad was a contractor. They got $2 million, like two separate houses, each worth about $1 million each. They've got one's a cottage, a retirement cottage, one's a home in the city, car. Like, that's just not a lifestyle that's available to people, in the workforce today.
not the average middle class person.
No. I
The
mean, it
upper,
is
sure,
it's
available.
Yeah, of course, that's available. But for like just a regular ass, and most of their wealth comes from house appreciation, right? They bought homes 20 years ago when it was 150K and now it's $900,000, right? So that's where a lot of the wealth comes from. And then once you have that kind of wealth in your home, that kind of equity, you can then borrow against it to finance your lifestyle. Then that avenue is just not available to people in the workforce, young people today. So, and that isn't necessarily like, her parents' fault and my parents have a similar sort of story. It's no one's fault that they got to take advantage of that system, but it is a fact that the system is it's not the same as it was for them as it is for us. And it is funny when when I think last week when you're a bit frustrated with some of the polling there, it's like, and I hear you, like a lot of these people who have got all these advantages, now they're voting for the parties that seem like they're going to try to entrench a lot of these disadvantages. Now, the fact that like it's such a generational divide is, I think, really interesting. How, young people, because even 10 years ago, people 65 and older, they were primarily right wingers, right? Republicans. And now they are primarily left and liberal. And that's a very interesting shift.
I'm protesting everything that Trump stands for.
I'm protesting everything Trump stands for. What the fuck does that mean? Like everything?
Yeah.
Like everything. Like, he has not done one single thing correct. Not one. Not one. Really? Really?
Yeah.
I think that our fearless leader, Mr. Trump, has a very negative attitude towards the world.
And just look in the back. That goes to say what we were talking about, has a very negative attitude towards the world. It's not his fucking job to take care of the world. But look at the people in the back. old, 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 old. Look
Yeah,
at
there's
all everybody on the right now is old, older, over 60-year-old.
It's an interesting phenomenon, and I wonder exactly what's driving it.
It's the same thing in Canada too. Like I
Yeah, it
know
is.
we'll look at the rallies you're going to
We
show,
saw
and
it
I know it's the same.
We saw it in that polling
And
too.
that
Yep.
he is tariffing us and arresting people like they did in early 1940s in Germany.
So Trump is arresting Jew people and throwing them in concentration camps.
Is that what he said? Jew people?
No. He said he's arresting people like they did in in the beginning of the Second World War. So really,
Well,
really.
yeah,
So Trump is going left, right, and center and throwing people in concentration camp because they're what, Jewish?
Well, that's a little, yeah. It's not at all the same thing. Trump is like rounding up people who are here illegally. Again, you might not agree with that, but that is completely different from rounding up people because of their ethnicity. And then once Trump has rounded them up, he deports them, whereas he isn't herding them into gas chambers to be murdered. So again, it's not really an accurate comparison.
Professor, and I'm especially concerned about higher education and cuts to science.
Well, I am protesting the fascist regime, the deconstruction of our constitutional rights and our government.
We've been taken over by a bunch of robber barons.
That 40-year-old is the youngest guy there.
But please explain to me, what rights have you lost as an American in the past 10 weeks? Please explain to me what rights have you lost?
Well, this is it's Tony G says, what news are they watching? Yeah, Tony, I suspect that's kind of what it is. There's some major just behavioral patterns that is generational. For example, most people 45 and younger aren't watching mainstream news. And most people 60 plus, they are. And it's pretty clear that mainstream media has a pretty serious hate on for Trump. So if that is your primary news source that you're consuming, of course there's going to be a lot of sort of Trump derangement syndrome. And I think, and I'm not, again, I want to make clear, I'm no Trump supporter or fan by any stretch. I don't particularly like the guy. I keep going back to like what Jason said when he was asked who he would have, or who he voted for, who he wanted to win. He said, I didn't want Trump to I think he said, I didn't vote for Trump and I hate that he won, but I'm really glad Kamala lost. That's kind of how I feel. I don't think Trump's, I think there's some serious flaws in his leadership style and just intellectual curiosity about the world that make him not ideal. However, I'm not also going to be, just absolutely blind and just attack every single thing he does just because he does it. We've criticized him here for things he's done, but also we've said, okay, that's not a bad thing that he's done. With regards to the tariffs, again, I said yesterday, I don't think it's what I would have done if I was president. But at least he's doing something. At least, he's putting his chips in the middle and he's doing something. And that's more you can say for any politician on the left or the right of the last 20 years.
And our government.
We've been taken over by a bunch of robber barons who are trying to take away all of our rights, benefits, and liberty.
We want to.
Like, again, what rights have you lost? What liberties have you lost? What have you lost? Like, seriously, what have you lost? It's did you notice they all use the same words? They all repeat the same stuff. So obviously there's an indoctrination happening right now. And clearly it must be from the media that they're looking at. But what rights is none of them seems to be able to explain. We are no longer capable of doing this, or this. Which one is it? And they're all above 60 again, except for the guy in the white beard, the guy in the beard, sorry.
And he was 45. Like he was 45 or 50 for sure.
So it's interesting, yeah.
I mean, it does make you wonder, like everything that we're saying, I'm hearing so far, it's not factually backed up. It doesn't. It does make you wonder where they're getting their news from, and I guess we kind of are. We've talked about just a few minutes ago, mainstream media. Memorino says, I drove by one of those protests last week in a small American city that I live in, and you were right. Most of the ones protesting were old or younger purple-haired types. Yeah, so that's your Democratic Party right now. The purple-haired weirdos and the 60 plus crowd. And it's they make a strange alliance for sure.
They do make strange alliances.
Yeah, strange bedfellows for sure. Also, I feel like as I'm sitting here, I do want to clarify, just in case my girlfriend's parents are listening. They're both lovely people. I've only used that example because my parents are the same. They've got a beautiful home on nice.
And you're red as a by the way, your face right now matches my shirt. I like.
Yeah. I'm thinking, oh shit, yeah, I should clarify that. My parents are the same, had decent middle class jobs, but by no means like upper class jobs, and they have a beautiful home that's been able to fund a lifestyle. And I again, that isn't their fault. I would have taken advantage of that system if that was available to me as well. But it is just an example of how it is. Times are different, times have changed, and it is. As younger people, sometimes that's the classic. The old people why don't you just pull yourself up from your bootstraps, young man, young lady? When I was your age, as 21, I had a home and blah. Yeah, but like you were making the equivalent of $100K or $90K with a high school education, pressing a button at the local factory, right? Like those days were over, and. I kind of wish there was more of a recognition that this isn't the same world, and it does make you a little frustrated when you see those sort of generational polling numbers. Because who's wrong? Are all the young people wrong, or is the demographic who had it pretty good growing up? Are they we all have our own blinders, right? We can only see the world through our own personal experience. So I understand why a lot of boomers want to preserve a system that worked very well for them, but it doesn't necessarily work very well for the younger crowd. And I think that's where you see a lot of this generational warfare going on.
At the end of the day, I can tell you that somebody that's in the middle, somebody that doesn't come from money, that didn't have an education at all until I went back in my 20s.
Yeah,
I can tell you, man, people are lazy today, though. You look at the younger generation.
Oh, there's no doubt.
They do not work as hard as I do every single day. I work 7 days a week. I'm always working.
Yep.
They do not work the way that I do. No questions about it. But you're absolutely right to say that you did not have to work as hard as I do 40 years ago to get what the boomers got either. Nobody can tell me that the boomers didn't get it easier than the younger people right now. They did, because you could absolutely get a regular job, nothing crazy, no education required, and still be able to support a family and have a house. And you were able to get that house for $100,000 compared to today, which
now
good luck finding a house. Good luck finding a fucking house at $100,000 anywhere. I don't even care where the house is. So again, people are lazier today, but at the same time, they don't have the same advantages. But, Dana White said something along the lines that if you're a young man right now and you're not succeeding, you're not trying hard because your competition's a bunch of pussies. So,
yeah,
obviously I'm paraphrasing, but he's making a good point. It's harder to become to become comfortable the way they were because they didn't have to have that much education. So there's definitely a difference, but let's say that there's a difference in mentality too today. People are not as hard.
You're right. And I don't want to make it seem simplified. It's not. There's a lot of factors at work. People absolutely are lazier. Sylvie says, I don't know anyone who owns 2 homes. Yeah, I should have clarified. Like a home in the city and a cottage out by the lake in the country. That's what my parents have. And, it's a cottage, but it may as well be a home. It's just... most of it is, finance from that first home that 30 years ago was very affordable. It's gone up in value at such a rate that makes funding it, the other things in your lifestyle much easier, but it also prices a lot of people out of the housing market that are, don't have that first home. And that's a conscious policy decision made by politicians over the last 20, 30 years. They had an option. They could have said, okay, we can protect the wealth and they protect the wealth of the baby boomers in the form of their home prices, or we can make it easier for younger people to get into the market, because those two things, you can't have both. You do one or the other. By making it easier for young people to get into the housing market, you must, by definition, keep housing prices lower. And that was a policy decision, a very conscious choice by policymakers. And they chose to protect the wealth of the baby boomers, who were, broadly speaking, a large group, and they vote. Right. And that is
they did well. The more Democrat / liberal people did well, because those are the people that are voting for them. And Sylvie is saying, yes, I still don't know any of those folks. Maybe I just hang out with poor people. Sylvie, I know people from both sides. I know people with a lot of houses. I know guys that have 80 different apartments plus houses plus this plus that, because they made a shit ton of money. And they come from really poor background. They're just very fucking hard workers and ballsy motherfuckers. That's what it comes down to. But it's just that today, to be successful, you need to be ballsy. Yeah. Back then, you just needed to have an acceptable job. This is the big difference I see between both. You need to work a lot harder today, but the guys that are ready to work harder, they're going to make a shit ton of money because the competition is not there. When back in those days, you did not have to work that hard. You could work your 40 hours a day, a week,
40 hours in a middle class job, have a nice home, 2 cars, vacations.
Yeah.
Now a middle class job will mean you can afford rent at a nicer apartment, and you own a decent car. That's basically it. It's times have definitely
100%.
changed.
Many will flip as well, as Sylvie says, and you're absolutely right. It's a business, right? Flipping houses is a way you can make a shit ton of money.
Absolutely.
You want to take that one?
Yeah, Tony says, I know some Gen Xers that own a few homes, but they were smart with money and got into finance young. My mom never owned a home. My boomer in-laws walked away from a mortgage in the 80s and started over to buy another house in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the wealth of boomers comes from their appreciation of housing prices, right? They bought homes 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when you could, a home, depending on, the city, if you got in the city is obviously different, but a relatively large city, maybe you could get it $200,000 20, 30 years ago, and now it's worth 1.2 million or something. And then of course, as that increases your net worth, increases the wealth of the family, and then you can use that, you can refinance that based on the new value, fund all kinds of other lifestyle things. And that's the housing price is the crux of all of it. But by allowing, and when I say it's a conscious policy decision, a lot of it is just to make, apply so many regulations, make it so hard to build new, that we're just not building near. If you could snap your fingers and have 1 million new homes in Canada right now, housing prices would go down through the roof, or through the floor. Sorry. It's literally mostly about supply and demand. They've consciously made it hard to build more housing, so that in order to protect the value of homeowners. And while that may be a politically expedient choice, it absolutely does basically close the door to home ownership for an entire generation of young people. And people are angry about that. People see that
the young people are so conservative because they're getting exposed to exactly what you're saying. That might be one of the biggest driver. In my opinion, it is one of the biggest drivers.
I agree. Because at the end of the day, what's really moved, the difference between left and right politics of the last 20 years has been the culture war stuff, right? Abortion, guns, gay rights, blah, blah, blah. And they've been doing that to keep us distracted, but none of that shit matters if you can't afford a fucking home. If you can't afford a home, you don't give a shit about what someone's position on a culture war issue is. You're just going to say, fuck this system. It's not working for me, and I want something else. And now, of course, if you're in the protected class, the class whose value and whose worth and net wealth was protected, then you like that system. And I don't even mean that boomers are doing it maliciously. I don't think they see it as oh yeah, we're really going to fuck our kids and grandkids over. I think they just say, well, this system worked well. It worked well for me. It will work well for them. And I don't think they're really understanding that it is not working well for us. And that is, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a big factor why you have this generational divide of people. It isn't even about left and right. It's about people who want to protect the system or the status quo versus people who are saying it's not working for me.
But at the same time, it's pretty ironic because the same people that are telling us that the system's broken, that it needs to be fixed.
Very ironic.
You have a guy like Trump that comes in that's trying to do exactly that. No!
He's a dictator. He's a fascist.
So it is so ironic to me.
They're
to see that.
The left is a bit schizophrenic these days.
A bit? Hey, fuck, you're a lot more polite than I would be, but Sylvie's saying my parents never owned a home, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, 3 kids. My dad worked hard. And we've had, I think it's the first time you're on the show, at least it's the first time you comment on the show. One thing, it's interesting because we talked about that, Rob and I don't remember if we did it on camera or we did it off air, but I personally, I come from an engineering background, and I quit my job when they asked me to get vaccinated. I didn't do it. I left my career. So I lost a lot of fucking money making this decision. But the point is that now I'm looking at raising a family, and I'm looking at what my options are. And I'm like, okay, I have a potential to make more money than I used to. I don't right now, but I know eventually I will make more. But do I go to a place where I buy a single house, live alone there with my family, or I do that multi-generational house where I want my wife's parents to live with us, to help us with the family, to be close to, because I've got to experience what it was to have a family, and I never had that before. I've never experienced a close-knit family until I married into one. So, Sylvie, you're saying that my parents never owned a home, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, 3 kids. My dad worked hard. I don't know if who's winning right now is the people that have, like Rob, that have 2 houses. Are they, like his parents, are they winning? Or somebody like you? My main goal is to make sure my wife does not have to work, that she can stay home with the kids if that's what she wants to do. I want her to be able to do that. And because I work, I run my own business, you'll start seeing me one day in a few months where I'm going to be recording podcasts, and my son's going to be strapped to my chest sleeping, and I'll be doing what I'm doing right now. Like I can do this from anywhere we want. That's the beauty of what we're doing. It has the potential to do that. But what do I prioritize? Do I prioritize having things, or do I prioritize having less but more freedom to spend with my family, or give the opportunity to my wife to stay home and raise the kids, to pay for tutors so that my kids never go through the education system? So, I get what you're saying, Sylvie, and I don't know if I would take what your parents did over what Rob's parents did. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying either is wrong or either is right, but I'm literally in that mental debate right now to see where the fuck should we go with this, because we have the potential of doing either.
Yeah, no, and that's
either.
Either. Yeah, either. Yeah. Yeah, and that's
it's just interesting, right? And there's no wrong in this. It's really a personal choice, but I'd rather have one car, a smaller house, and be able to spend more time with my kids. I'm at that age where I've made a lot of money and I've lost it all because of my decisions that I took during COVID. And now I'm like, okay, I have the potential of doing both. What would I like better? Working more and going back and really making it about money, or finding a place where I can make enough money to afford a smaller house, one car instead of 2, maybe live with my in-laws because we like each other. We want to live with each other. They want to be close to our kids. Like, I'm ready. To me, it's not even a sacrifice. It's just, where do I align? And I think this is the generation, we are in the generation that needs to have those discussions. Do we want more stuff? What do we value more, stuff or family? What do we value more? I value more family, 100%.
Well, and that's a great point, because I think, when we're kind of talking about what I think might be driving a lot of the resentment of younger people, I also think if you snap your fingers and gave all these people a home, I don't think they would necessarily be as happy as they think they
They'd bitch about something else.
Yeah. I actually think
Yeah.
there's a lot of, and it's maybe a topic for another day. But there's a lot of reasons why I think here in modern life we're not as happy, or why anxiety rates are so high in the West, even though we're on paper the wealthiest societies in the world. We should be. If stuff made you happy, we should be the happiest, but we are not. Our depression rates, our anxiety rates, our unhappiness levels are just through the roof. And I think there's a lot deeper problems going on, kind of related to just the breakdown of community bonds, family units specifically. And that won't be addressed by owning a home. But I think that's what's essentially driving the politics of right now, is that
one of the things, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but one of the things yesterday, I watched a really dumb movie. That's My Boy. You know that movie? With
Adam Sandler? Yeah.
I'm a big fan of dumb movies. I do such intellectual work day in, day out. When I'm at night, when I'm done, I keep the phone away, and I love really stupid movies that I can just turn off my head. Like literally turn off my brain. I watched a movie. I watched That's My Boy with my wife's mom yesterday, just her and I, and she was laughing her ass off. She finished the movie. I was going to bed. She's like, this movie was so fucking dumb, but man, it was good. But see, I value this more than being alone in a big house. Do you know what I'm saying? With that. Like, to me, I spend time with her. We just came back from the US, so we were away for months. We didn't get to do that. I value this more. The more I experience this, the more I value it. And Sylvie, it was not a complaint. Like, I'm just because she's saying I liked that my mom was at home. My point exactly. I feel sad for my dad, gone now, but he always wanted to own his own home.
Yeah.
And it never happened. But I can tell you something from the sound of it, and I'm gonna assume here, but he was a man's man. He did what needed to be done in order to take care of his family. That's what we do.
Yep.
I will sacrifice everything so that my wife can stay with our kids and have the life she wants to have, because that's my job as a man, no questions about it. So as much as I understand where you're coming from, I guarantee you, if you had the chance to ask him, he'd do it again if that meant that you guys were good. So that's what men do, right? That's what we do.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks for by the way, Sylvie, thanks for those type of comments. I love personal comments like that. I love to be able to talk about our personal life if we want to. And thank you for opening up, because this is what this show's all about, right? We want to be able to talk. We have very smart commenters. The people that follow us, that follow this show, are fucking smart. I kind of wonder. I had to put books in my background to
make it try to trick them.
Yeah, I'm smart too.
Yeah, I'm smart too, guys. I'm smart too. But yeah, we've said, we'll say a lot of times, we're not just creating a show here. We're trying to create a community, and we're it seems like you fit right in, Sylvie. So hopefully we see a little more of you. Tony says, Nico, I made money so my wife could stay home for 10 years and raise the kids. Our only regret was putting them in public schools. With this economy now, we could never have done that, as my work has decreased by at least 50%. Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, as Nico was talking about a few minutes ago, like, we have to make a choice. Do you want all the stuff? The difference is now, today you have to make that choice, because if you want that lifestyle, both parents pretty much have to work, and you're going to have to be away from your kids. Whereas I think 40 years ago, 30 years ago, you could probably do it on one salary, right? You didn't have to make that choice. You could have a lot of stuff, and, one of you, probably the mother, would stay home with the kids, and you have that sort of more traditional family dynamic. And I think, again, that I think is driving a lot of resentment too, because a lot of people, that lifestyle is sort of out of reach. It's almost like, if you want the stuff, you have to basically kill yourself and neglect your family, really. And that's a choice a lot of people are not happy about having to make. And I actually think that more people will be happier if they did away with the stuff portion and just focus on family. But
because I've had both, bro. I've had all the money I did not know what to do with, and you know what?
I wouldn't make you happy.
I would never go back. I would much rather make a lot less money like I'm doing right now and have the freedom to work from home, to make my own schedule, to be with my wife anytime I want to, be around my future kids anytime I want to. I would not trade that off. I'd much rather live in a basement somewhere with a okay, sure. If it's cheaper for me to live in a basement somewhere than afford a house, no problem. But that means I can stay with my kids and invest that money in them instead. I take that a million times.
Yeah.
I don't care about stuff. I'm not somebody that cares about this shit anymore. So.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But that's a personal choice. Right? I would much rather be having a massive house and one salary. Believe me, if you gave me all those options,
you wouldn't say no to $1 million a year.
No,
but I agree with
not at
you.
all.
If your options are the money or the family, then yeah, I agree. I think.
But I'm not resentful either. That's the difference with a lot of the people my age or younger, is that they are resentful. I'm not.
Yep.
I'm really not resentful at all. I'm just, this is the situation. I'm a no bullshit type of guy, right? Here's my options. Which one do I want? And I'll just fucking go with it, and I won't complain about it. It's not worth it. Life's too beautiful to complain about it. So
well said. Do we want to
yes,
pivot
go
to
for it.
Canadian
Yes.
election? Because we've only got 10 minutes.
If you could shut the hell up, yes, we could.
Oh, please. Yammering on like an old housewife.
But we're getting good comments, so we
are
have to
getting good
respond to
comments.
the good comments.
Anytime
right?
we go past our time limit, it's almost always because we've gotten a lot of good comments, and I think we'll both take that any day.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do our traditional, or not traditional,
Our daily Canadian
daily
election update.
Yes, correct. Do you want to start, or do you want me to go first?
No, go for it. There's even a mistake in my fucking thing. God
Okay.
damn it. Go for it. I'm
So-
going to change it right now.
Sure. Let me video file. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just because it was, who was it here that was there? Was it Tony?
It was Tony. Yeah,
Tony,
it was
yeah.
Tony.
So Tony was at this rally, this Pierre Poilievre rally, and there we go. This is only 2 seconds. But it just shows this crowd. I was like, wow.
But pause it for a second. Like, just look at the people.
Yeah.
Just because I stopped there, there's a bunch of old people, but you can see not only is there a shit ton of people, but you can see they seem to be from all ages, not just old people, like what we're seem to be seeing from the Democrat/liberal side.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think Tony, if you're still listening, I think he had mentioned that it was, it was great energy. It was, I think the word he used. Let me look up here. Did he say wild? He said it was packed. Yeah, what was the energy like, Tony? If you're still listening, I mean, it seems pretty. Our Canadian rugby, young guys.
Just look at.
Yeah, let me back up. Definitely got a couple of young fellas right here. So, in general, pretty a younger crowd. And go back to your sort of question of the day, which was, if you guys remember, it was you
can't remember it.
Question. Crowd sizes. Does crowd size matter versus, I guess, polling? And we're gonna find out here in about just under 3 weeks. But I feel like it has to. I think, and the thing that, I mean, you could say, okay, well, sure, Edmonton, Alberta, traditionally conservative, but I live in the East Coast. I live in New Brunswick, and Poilievre was here, and the East Coast is traditionally liberal, and he got, not this many. I think this is between 12 and 15,000 people.
Those are the numbers I've seen. I've seen anywhere from 12 to 15 for the one yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, I think now, again, East Coast is not going to get that many, but it was surprising amount. It was like a packed house, and I think there's got to be something that the polling numbers are not picking up. Now, do I think it's pretty close? Yeah, I think it's probably neck and neck, but the polling numbers don't necessarily the polling numbers makes it sound like a landslide by Kearney, right?
Yep. Right now, that's what the last pollings I've seen are all saying that Poilievre is getting his ass kicked, and as per yesterday, it was over 15,000 people rallied in Edmonton because that was in Edmonton yesterday, what you just showed, right?
Yeah, that was
And he
Edmonton.
was introduced. He was introduced by the old premier, Prime Minister Harper, if I'm not mistaken. Harper introduced him.
Harper endorsed him. Harper endorsed him.
Yeah,
and he said something interesting. I thought, he was like saying that our problems are not created by Trump. I obviously the tariffs kind of hurt, but I think what he's saying is there's stuff kind of deeper that's going on more than just the tariffs. Well, I mean, as remember we covered it when the reciprocal tariff day, Canada, we didn't get any. So it really took away an attack point, right? That really sort of hurt what Carney was going to be. Carney was going to be. I think we had mentioned, we were like, it'll be interesting to see what Carney does now, because that was his thing that he was gonna use to attack Poilievre with, but now that's gone.
he hasn't stopped. He's still doubling down on tariffs and the big bad orange man. He's still continuing. I was still commenting on his stuff this morning, and I think one of the posts has hundreds of likes and reposts, and all I said is, you're still going on with this? Can you imagine if you actually had to campaign for a change? And it's insane, right, that they're still pushing that bullshit of Trump and his tariff. Bro, your party destroyed the economy for the past 10 years. The bad orange man's been in power for 10 weeks. And it's his fault. Our inflation, or 33% inflation over the past 10 years, is somehow Trump's fault from 2 presidents ago? Is that the way it works? Like, come on, fuck off. Let's be honest here. You're just using him to scare the shit out of people to push your globalist agenda. Like, let's be honest here.
Oh yeah. It's not whether you like Trump or hate him. Like, Canada's got a lot of bigger problems than just him. Why is our economy literally stagnated for 9 years? It is at the exact same place as it was. Our GDP is the exact same place it was 9 years ago.
Coincidence. It's a coincidence.
Yeah, complete coincidence.
It's because we envisioned Trump was going to get in power.
Yes, we could see it coming, and we wanted something to attack him with.
It's preemptive.
Yes. Yep. Tony G, the energy was good. People like to blabber. So this is about the rally last night. People like to blabber, so I had a hard time hearing Pierre and Harper. There were all types of people, young, old, families, black and brown. The issue I had was it was all the same rhetoric and no variation. Yeah, I think a lot of times you're going to get just the canned political speech, right? Once in a while they might throw something new out there, but for the most part, I think you're mostly going to get the same old. And I agree. That's kind of, you're probably sitting there like, I left my home for this. But it's interesting that Tony says, young people, old people, families, black people, brown people. So, it certainly is a diverse coalition right now for Poilievre.
Look at this. This is the rally that happened in Richmond. Wow.
This is Poilievre?
Yes.
No, this is Carney. This is Carney. Okay.
It's a bit of a difference in size, right?
Oh yeah, that's just a room. Whereas Poilievre had like a stadium,
a hangar. It looked like a hangar.
A hangar. You're right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but it looks like an airplane hangar.
Yeah. Where was that?
It was in Edmonton. The one we saw was in Edmonton. This was in Richmond. So
yeah. So that looks like if that's just a room, that looks like what, 1,000 people.
If I had to guess, yeah, I'm not even sure there's 1,000 people there, but if I had to guess, I'd say 1,000 people, yeah.
And whoever's taking the picture is as far back as possible. There's no one behind them for sure.
Oh no, but you can tell, like right here, there's spaces. Like here, there's nobody right there. So you're absolutely right. They're at the back of the room. Like, yes.
Yeah. No,
that's a big warehouse and an industrial park. Yeah, that
interesting. Oh, big warehouse and industrial park. Yeah, I mean that's compared to what this looks like a board, like a convention floor room in a hotel or something like that.
So it was in British Columbia. I just wanted to make sure. So Richmond, BC population, like you're talking 222,000 people, and that's who showed up.
Huh. Yeah, not
Like-
not as impressive for sure.
Like 1 million people live in Edmonton, so obviously it's 5 times bigger. But at the same time, 200 people to fill up what looks to be 1,000 people.
Yeah, interesting. It's
And
again.
that's a liberal. Let's be honest here. The BC ain't fucking right wing.
No,
Like, let's be honest here. It's NDP territory, so it's very liberal.
as
Very
right.
fucking liberal.
That's right. As right as Alberta is, BC is left.
Yes. So it's not like Carney walked in Alberta. Now, do I expect Carney to draw a 50,000 people crowd in Edmonton? Fuck no. Not gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen.
No,
Like, no.
no, I don't think so.
But 1,000, what looks like 1,000 people in Richmond, BC, that ain't good. That ain't good, bro.
So here we have another piece of or the election coverage. So I feel like this episode's kind of making it look like we're like shitting on Carney and like praising Paul. I was trying to look for something good about.
I'm shitting on both.
I know you
are.
are.
Both.
I know you are. I was looking for something good about Carney. Like I was trying to look for like something and be like, okay, and here's what Carney's doing. But all I found was this. I
don't even know what it is, but it's funny already.
So this is a press conference that I'm not sure exactly what branch of government this was, but it is essentially warning us that the Chinese Communist Party has a favorite in this election, and it is Mark Carney.
We are aware of an information operation targeting the 45th general election on the social media platform WeChat. The information operation was launched by Yoli Yomien, WeChat's most popular news account. Intelligence reporting links the Yoli Yomien account to the PRC, Chinese Communist Party Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission. The content of this information operation contains story about the Prime Minister, Liberal Party of Canada leader, and candidate in Nepean, Mark Carney. This content has been amplified in a coordinated and inauthentic way. This information operation had contrasting positive and negative narratives, first amplifying Mr. Carney's stance with the United States, and then targeting his experience and credentials. The site task force assesses that the foreign state-backed information operation was intended to influence Canadian Chinese communities and look to mold perceptions about the candidate. The campaign received high levels of user engagement and views, between 85,000 and 130,000 interactions, and an estimate of 1 to 3 million views. WeChat developer Tencent reports that the platform itself has over 1.3 billion monthly active users, but has not disclosed how many of those users live overseas. The activity saw large spikes of what is believed to be coordinated inauthentic behavior on March 10th and 25th, 2025. Following increasing levels of engagement on the platform, the Liberal Party representative was briefed about the findings on April 6th. The site task force will be discussing this issue with Tencent, the developer of WeChat, later today to raise our concerns.
All right. So, this is not
boring speaker.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, super boring. This isn't Carney's fault. But I think it's important. Like, so basically what she's saying, so WeChat is the Chinese Twitter. It's essentially a massive platform used in the same way, the way that Twitter is sort of like the global public square. WeChat is for China. Now, they're not, essentially what she was saying, she was super boring. But what she's saying is they had, whatever this task force is they're tasked to look into election irregularities or foreign influence or interference, and it appears that known accounts that are associated with the Chinese government and therefore the Chinese Communist Party are boosting in an inauthentic or inorganic way Mark Carney. Now they're trying to convince people in the Chinese community in Canada to vote for Carney. So I don't want to, like I said, this isn't necessarily shitting on Mark Carney. He has no say in what is being what these people do in WeChat. I think it's important though to realize this, what this shows is where the Chinese government's preferences, and if you are someone who is concerned about Chinese influence in Canada and Canadian society and Canadian politics, I think it's important to understand that for whatever reason, we don't know why they prefer Mark Carney. It's just, I guess it's enough to know that they do. I'm not saying Mark Carney is, working with the Chinese, he's disloyal or anything like that, but for whatever reason, they would prefer Carney be prime minister than Poilievre. And I think that's relevant information, especially if you have concerns with Chinese influence in our society.
But you can go even further than that, man, because it's interesting. I wanted to bring that up. Do you remember we spoke about Paul Chiang? I think it was last week or the week before. So
Absolutely.
the man that the liberal guy that is a liberal MP, the current liberal MP that suggested to his followers to go and bring Joy, his conservative opponent, to the Chinese government to get the 1 million reward. It was like $100,000 American, like the 100 million yen. So he basically wanted his opponent to get arrested. That's basically the gist of it.
Yep.
He stepped down, right? So he stepped down. They chose who his replacement is. So Carney chose who the replacement is.
I don't think he's much better.
And it's actually worse. So it turns out that this guy, a guy by the name of Paul Chiang, that's the guy that in Markham that got replaced, is getting replaced by a guy called right here. His name is where the hell is it? He's an old retired too. Where the hell is his name? Peter Yen. Peter Yuen. He's another police chief, but he's been flagged to have been part of a Chinese international school that participated in Canada's election interference inquiry. So he is part of a school a Chinese school that actually was accused of interference and investigated for it. So you have WeChat, you have Chinese entities that seems to be trying to influence Chinese individuals or Chinese descent Canadians in Canada to vote for Mark Carney. And then it looks like Mark Carney just replaced a guy that wanted the actual Communist Party of China to arrest his conservative opponent because his conservative opponent spoke against Chinese corruption. Is being replaced by a guy that was part of a school that's been investigated.
Well, and remember, Carney didn't want to hold him accountable either. Carney wasn't going to punish him at first.
No. He's not the one that asked him to step down. The guy stepped down by himself. Carney defended him.
Carney said he wasn't going to ask. So, I mean, look, there are definitely going to be people who are going to just make the case that he's flat out compromised by the Chinese or working with them in some way. I'm not gonna, I don't think you even need to go that far. For me, it's enough, or at least it's relevant enough that China clearly prefers him as prime minister to at least, I'm gonna factor that in. I guess if I have no concerns about Chinese influence in Canadian politics and society, that probably is not going to move the needle for me. But if I do, then I'm probably going to factor that in. And like I said, if Carney, when we do our coverage tomorrow, if Carney gives a great speech tonight or something, then I'll play that. We'll play that too. The Canadian election coverage is meant to be just help inform people of what's going on. It's not to say this guy's good, this guy's bad. I looked for something good for Carney. I just couldn't find it today.
I can tell you, Carney, I dislike the man. He's a globalist. He's admitted. And when I call him a globalist, it's not even an insult at this point. He has said it himself. No, he said it. I can find the post that he made calling himself a globalist. He has ties to the WEF, and that's why they prefer him over another guy. But I don't think Poilievre is any better. Like, Poilievre, to me, is not a guy that puts Canada first either. So I bash them both. I will not be voting for any of them. I just hope that, you were talking about this at the beginning about voting, that you don't know who you're voting for right now. I can tell you, I'm not voting for either. Yeah. And I just wish, I've been saying this for years, and I wish Canada would have the balls to add a new voting option where it would simply be, I took the time to vote, but none of the people that are getting
I kind
as
of
an
agree.
option are wrong. I do not back any of the people. And I just would love for, because me not voting for Pierre Poilievre is not going to move the needle at all.
No.
Not at all. I'm not going to make a massive, I don't care how many people follow me. Even if they didn't vote for Poilievre, it wouldn't move the needle. Like most of my audience is American either way. They don't give a fuck about Canadian politics. But at the end of the day, I wish they would add another option to say, I'm not undecided. I want it to be clear to say, you people don't represent my interest. I will vote. I will go wait in line. I will cast my vote, but none of you represent my interest. Yep. None of you represent my interest. And I think there should be a threshold that if so much, let's call it 10%, because I am just thinking off the top of my head. If it reaches a certain amount, if 10% of the people or 15% of the people take the time out of their day to go cast their votes, but don't find anybody that represents them, we need to rethink about our system. Like there should be a threshold that it reaches a certain amount, and okay, we got a problem. We got a problem.
It would just be newsworthy, 14% or 20%, or you'd be able to judge how disgusted people are with the system by that number. And I actually think that's a great idea.
And you could even have it nuanced to say, let's say like right now, like you being the perfect example, you don't want to vote Liberal because you think they need to be held accountable for the past 10 years.
I think they can't.
But then you're like,
for the last 9 years.
Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up voting for Poilievre because you're voting for the lesser of two evil, right?
Yep.
I would love that option to say, you know what, two other options. One like me, I cannot condone neither of them, so I will not be voting for neither of them. That's my choice as a voter. But at the same time, I understand why somebody would vote for Poilievre. If you gave me a choice, if I had to choose one, I would choose Poilievre over Carney, but not because not because Poilievre represents me. No, if you put me in a situation I don't have a choice, I have to choose. This is who I would choose, but I'm choosing the lesser of two evil. But I would want that option to say, I voted for him as the lesser of two evil, or simply I do not. I took the time out of my day to come vote because that's my duty as a Canadian. But at the same time, none of the people you're presenting as leaders align with me, and I don't want to support them.
And actually, I really like that idea because it also allows you to make a difference between the people who just don't give a shit, who are just not involved in politics whatsoever, versus people who do give a shit, who have looked at all the options and said, no thanks, nothing here appeals to me. And I think that would be useful data to study that, to look at that number, see how that goes up by election. If that number keeps going up, then maybe policymakers might think, okay, something, we really need to change something. I actually really like that idea, to be honest.
They should ask that in polls. If you want an honest poll, how many people, if you give them options, you just add a sixth option. There's 5 parties you can vote for right now. Add a six. Is it 5? Yes, 6. It's 5. So add a 6th one that is none of them represent my interest. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. What do you think? Do you got anything else on the election? Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, no,
we went only 12 minutes over, not too bad.
But that's our average. 2 hours and 15 minutes is pretty bang on for what we do. So.
Give or take.
Yep.
So guys, again, lots of engagements today, some new faces. Sylvie, great to see you. If you do like this show, please like and share, especially on X. That's the biggest way you can help us promote the show. And again, you can, if you didn't have time to watch all of it or sit down, please subscribe to us on Spotify. You can get the audio version of this podcast. We put it up right after the show. Other than that, as always, you could have been here. You could have been anywhere in the world today, but you chose to be here with us, and we really appreciate that. I think with Sylvie's, all her comments say, it really shows what we're trying to do with this show. We're trying to build a community and not just a podcast. So again, guys, without you, we wouldn't be anywhere. So we cannot thank you guys enough. Tony, peace to you, brother. We will see you tomorrow. Nico, you got anything to add?
No, just close it off, man.
Yeah, all right. As always, we will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. And take care of yourselves.
Peace out.